Right Way Home Care is a non-medical home care agency. We specialize in personal care, light housekeeping.
You know, we do medication pickup, groceries.
I have a mother-in-law that's disabled, and that motivated me to see, to go in her house to see what was going on, and different caregivers coming in and out, and just motivated me to use my degree to start a business such as what she receives.
So I've been doing healthcare since 2007. I go into nursing homes. I do skilled care.
My sister is in the healthcare field as a nurse, so we kind of balance each other out with the business part and the social work part. And then she does like the care and the training, the caregivers and everything like that.
She has something that I don't have, and I have something that she don't have, so we balance each other out.
Hey, I'm Mo from Mosu. We are a photography business based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I have been taking pictures for years just as a hobby. My family and friends tried to get me to go professional, however I shied away from that. But this year was my year. I was going to take my dreams and run with them, and I have to say I do not regret it. I absolutely love the feeling that it gives me. I love watching people leave my studio smiling and feeling confident. It's just absolutely amazing. We offer family, portrait, pets, and we also do small business branding. So if you would like to work with us, you can reach us at our website or give us a call. We'd love to work with you.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Round the 717. My name's Patrick Wider, and I'm here hosting today around the 717 with my guy CJ Frederick. How you doing there, buddy?
Doing well. We're on week 9, baby. Feeling good.
Week 9, feeling well. Okay, before we get into our guest and talk about our show, let's give our sponsors a couple shout-outs. Right Way Home Care. Is it no Right Way what? Yeah.
Right Way Home Care.
Home Care, yeah. Tamika does a great job, and she's looking for some people, and clients always looking, so check them out. And they are hiring as well. They're looking for good qualified people. And I know they helped a family member of mine several months ago, and they did a great job, and I highly recommend. So on a personal level, I can highly recommend them. And the second sponsor is Mosu Photography. So give them a huge shout out. They do a great job, so make sure to check out all their material as well. So, yep, Right Way Home Care and Mosu Photography. So we're back in the studio again, off Zoom. I'm excited. On this podcast, this guy in the middle here, I'm real excited to have, is the head track and field coach of McCaskey High School, Derek Jennings.
And cross country.
And cross country. Woo!
Thanks, guys.
How you doing, Coach Jennings?
Good. Better when we start competing, but week 3, glad to be on. Glad to be here. So.
And you're on the bye week, week
we
1?
Got bye week 1, so we scheduled York City. We think we won't have any issues with them.
It's starting already. It's starting already.
In our group chat today.
Yeah, we're gonna do a try meet. We used to do it back in the day, and haven't done it in a couple years. So Reading and York, we're gonna put them week 1, and then start LL the next week.
Go Reading. We got a Reading rep. We got the York High coach.
That's like the old
got
rivals back together.
Yeah, let's get after it.
Is that at McCaskey or is that York?
It's actually gonna be at York. So
okay.
We'll let them host year 1 and
at York.
How you feel about that, Coach?
We're excited about it. It should be fun. It's always fun going against your alumni. But yeah, it definitely should be interesting. We're looking forward to it.
Now, that's your first meet?
Yeah, no, our second.
Second meet.
We got Dallas Town that Tuesday. We go Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Wow.
All
Hit
season?
The ground running.
Yeah, but then we're off the next week. So
Okay.
Oh, so you got a normal
normal
bye
You get
week.
them all fired up, Coach. Get them rolling, and then you get like a week off to kind of catch your breath.
yeah, I'm happy that meets are starting because we might see people at practice more consistently.
Yeah, I hear that.
So what about So where's the Saturday then? You guys had an invitation, one invitational.
No, Friday we have invitational at Suburban Relays.
Suburban Relays. Oh, okay.
Herb Smith now.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna talk to Coach Jennings. But first, I want to start off with, guys, little breaking news yesterday. I missed this, but Elizabethtown is discussing cutting all after-school activities. They're meeting right now. So kind of crazy to think. I'm going to read a quote. Ashley Stonecker of the paper, got to give her credit, but she's there right now on the ground. I'm just going to read this quote real quick. Elizabeth Lewis, so a parent out there said, saw 2 daughters graduate from E-Town. If art were eliminated through budget cuts, the losses could not be measured in dollars. So just, the impact on kids, we're all sports guys here, but, after school, you're talking about dance program, you're talking about all the clubs, you're talking about, the musical. I mean, the impact would be unreal if they would do this. Also, they're talking about cutting busing. So, I don't know how parents would do that. So, we had coach on last week, Coach Stokes. He was all fired up to be the head coach. And then a week later, he's got to deal with budget cuts. So,
yeah, it's really ironic because Coach, you could tell in his fire last week how excited he was to get the program running at E-Town. And they, been kind of mediocre, but he even said in the podcast how much he appreciated the support of the community at E-Town. And, it's just one of those things. It's really unfortunate it's happening. I don't think it's going to get approved. And we were talking about it off camera. Hopefully it's not approved because it affects not just sports, but it affects so many different levels. It'd be really unfortunate. I can't imagine the negative impact it'll have if it did get approved.
Yeah, so we'll follow it tonight. So let me start with you, Coach Jennings. Could you imagine? Okay, you're a teacher at McCaskey. You're a track coach and the new cross country coach. Could you imagine if they did something like this at McCaskey? What would the impact be on the kids in the community if they cut all after school activities?
I don't think you could measure the impact. I think it would be that great. I was a runner and I wanted to go to college to run.
Yeah.
That's why I went.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be a teacher. If extracurricular activities, if there were no sports, I wouldn't be doing what I do. Our kids, it helps them with grades. It is factual. Yep. Our kids, when they're in sports, do better than when they're not in sports. That's just the sports end. You got acting, you got the plays. I don't think you could measure how drastic it would be, and I think there would be a mass exodus. I think if you didn't have all for extracurriculars,
right.
That's one of the highlights of it as a kid. So
I agree with you. And my wife was not an athlete at Hempfield, but she did the dance theater, and that kept her going. She said she didn't have dance theater, she probably wouldn't have gone to high school because she loved dance theater, and that was her. And she did dance theater a lot and did all the other dance stuff on the side. So I agree. You just can't do that, and I hope that E-Town makes the right decision, and I assume they will because I think the community is going to rise. Coach Way, you're a big football, big athlete at McCaskey. Could you imagine, cutting athletics?
No, like me and Michael were just talking about, our lives would be different without sports. I wouldn't have wanted to go to college. I probably wouldn't have made it through college. So it's just.
I wouldn't have made it through high school if I didn't have football.
Right.
I was on that path.
Yeah.
There's no way. I wouldn't definitely be sitting right here producing for you guys right now if I didn't have football in high school.
I tell you what, though, this is like that time where Penn State got in trouble, and all the other schools could just come in and swoop and recruit the athletes. I'm about to just start going to E-Town and just start on the way out.
If we lose this meet next Thursday, I want that recording.
Send that to behind the
Coach Stokes is your boy too. Do we need to tell him this?
I'm just saying.
Oh, that's funny.
You heard him last week. You don't want me.
Well, I'll tell you what. I was a very average student when the season was in season. I was a very below average student, when we were in season. I can't imagine.
Definitely.
These kids and the grades and I don't know. Hopefully cooler heads prevail and they figure out another way because I don't see it happening.
Well, when I was at McCaskey and then I was at prior to that York coaching, I remember I always coached receivers, and I was always have my receivers, and they would play football, and they would always play basketball, and I'd be like, go play track or baseball, because their grades would always tank in the spring, and I would be like, go play track,
You
to
run
get them
track.
to run, because the
Yeah, I don't
running's
know if we
big.
play track.
Run track, whatever, you know what I
You're
meant.
gonna have a track guy on the track.
You
But you know what I mean?
play
Like, but I would try to get them to go because
Play track.
number one, you keep them focused. Number two, I think track and field is such a big
you go.
sport. Okay, so yeah, I agree. So hopefully tonight they make a good decision and they keep all after school activities.
Well, I wonder if it was just from E-Town's, like the school board, whoever decided this, their perspective was like, oh, let's just throw this out there and see the reaction type of thing. And obviously, I mean, I can't imagine any school would be for any of this, regardless if it's just one program or several like E-Town could potentially facing. But I wonder if that was the situation too, because if you saw the video and the pictures from the coverage, there's a lot of people from the community protesting right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's no way. I mean, I can't imagine anybody cutting, an entire after-school program. That's just
Extracurriculars,
silly.
they go hand in hand. I mean, I don't think you can have school without extracurriculars.
Yeah.
Well, it's something you look forward to.
Yeah, I agree.
You gotta sit through an 8-hour day. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Something.
Yeah.
So it's various levels, and hopefully we get the right outcome, because Coach Stokes is pumped. So
He's Stokes. I think he's going to do a great job out there, so hopefully they keep the football program. Hey, baptism by fire for being a head coach. You get hired a couple weeks later, you got to go save athletics.
That's insane.
Stokes was also a former assistant track and field coach at McCaskey, so
There you go.
I don't even think I knew that. There it is.
That was back in the
Yeah.
History lesson.
Back in the day.
day.
Okay, so we got to go back where it all began for Coach Jennings here. Can you talk about your experience? You did a little bit. You were at Slanko. He's a new Hall of Famer. Did you get a gold jacket?
I didn't get a gold jacket. I got a nice meal though and a plaque, and they did send me a sweatshirt. So I got a sweatshirt. My wife kind of took that. I can't rock the Slanko sweatshirt many places.
True story. And I wasn't going to bring this up, but he texted my father, because I was at the Central York Hall of Fame game covering that, and I put it on Twitter covering the Hall of Fame game. He texted my father. He goes, somebody needs to teach their son respect. And covering the white one. That was funny.
Was at my Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
How are you
awesome.
not covering that? Like,
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed. It hurt my feelings.
It was.
He did see a good game.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, Central York. Central York Hempfield, right? Was it Central York?
It was Central York Hempfield, and I
That's
actually.
a pretty big game there, Coach. Sorry.
I work with a guy there that was inducted in the Hall of Fame, and I did, and then at retrospect, my father was there, and everything, and he told me that night, he's like, "You got Jennings mad at you." I was like, "What? Come on, what did I do?"
Screenshotted him. Your
Yeah.
tweet,
Yeah, so that happened.
That's
I
a
had
true
no clue it was
story.
happening, and I saw it on Twitter. I was like, "Oh, good for him." So,
that was funny.
So would you run at Slanko?
I ran the mile and 2 mile mostly in cross country. We had some really good cross country teams. So I ran varsity as a freshman. We won the league title 2 out of the 4 years.
Wow.
Holy
we
cow.
were runner up my sophomore year. Yeah, so we had some great cross country teams. Track was a little down back then. It was like, and this is something I've tried as a coach, and not that it was anybody's fault, but it was like, hey, the distance team and then the track team, right? So it was
Yeah.
you were running, and it was like cross country, but on track back then. So we were like, hey, we did well. We didn't win as a team, but we did well. But did the mile, 2 mile, and then cross country. So
Did you ever have any desire to go back there and teach and coach?
I didn't. I think a lot of people that go to Slanko, they end up living in Slanko. Their kids live in Slanko. Their cousins live in Slanko. It's a nice, small, family, rural area. When I started student teaching, I did a gig with what was Edward Hand, now Jackson, and it was for a week. I got into day 2, and I'm like, I got to teach in the city. Like I just
Because you were at Wheatland then too
and then
for
I
a while.
went to Wheatland as a long-term sub and taught there for several years. So it took 1 week of substitute teaching. I fell in love with the city.
Oh, that's great.
Don't you come from a family of runners?
Yeah, so my mom and dad both were pretty good runners back in the early 80s. My dad still harasses me that they still have the school record in the 4x800.
At Slanko.
Yeah, so Coach McDowell, she ends up listening to this. She's going to have to recruit some 4x8 runners to beat that record so he can stop talking about it. My dad's one of those guys that he likes to talk and tell stories, but he tells the same stories all the time. So I have to hear about this about once a month, how back in 1982 they have the school record still.
So it's like a family business.
You could say that. My sister she went to Millersville, had a really good career, was a first ballot Hall of Famer at Millersville.
Wow.
And
Wow.
So I think
I didn't know that.
I think she still has the mile or 1500 stadium record there.
Did you run in college?
You know, it's funny because I was recruited. I went to Millersville. I was planning on running. I had a stress fracture my senior year of high school, and it just never healed properly, and I never competed.
Wow.
So I went there planning on running. So my big gift to Millersville was my sister followed me there. So, you know, I didn't do much, but hey, they got Priscilla Jennings, and she did pretty well.
So where'd the Florida State fandom come from?
Yeah, let's get there.
Yeah, so I was hoping that wouldn't come up right now. You guys gotta take us down. So my senior year of high school, I had a buddy that was stationed. He was doing the Air Force down in Pensacola. We went down to see him, and we drove through the state, and we spent one night on Florida State's campus. I fell in love.
No kidding.
The stadium's lit up. It looks like a castle. Yeah. They got Chief Osceola. The flame is lit up. You know, it's November. It's 75 degrees. The girls are tan and all over the campus and stuff. So my now wife was on that trip, so I should be careful what I'm saying.
There you gotta be careful.
But everything about it was just like loved it. Went down, watched them play the Hurricanes and the Gators in some rivalry.
Oh wow! So you've seen some big time games.
Yeah. So actually, Miami was on a 6-game win streak. And I went down, and there was a blocked kick for Florida State to win, to break that streak.
Okay.
Which, if you know anything about Florida State, Miami, there's some field goal issues that have
on the Florida State side.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was there in Doak when they broke the 6-game streak, and then kind of started a little bit of a run there against Miami, and they've come back to earth pretty quick.
Have you been to any games recently?
I have not been to any games recently, and I don't know if I will. Last game I went to, we were at Maryland.
Yeah.
We got front row behind the Florida State bench. So the players probably thought I was heckling them, but I was having such a great time, so I'm yelling at the players. The one brought me Gatorade. I'm like, give me some Gatorade. I'm getting dehydrated.
Yeah.
But that would have been several years ago. That was when Maryland was still in the ACC. So.
Yeah,
oh wow! So that's
they joined the Big Ten.
Several years. Yeah.
Yep. All right, cool. Yeah, I love Jennings. We were at McCaskey. I always talked college football with him, so I always felt bad for him. I would take it easy on him.
Yeah.
Do you see them with this coach with Norville getting back on track, or?
I do, but you know what? There's so much that goes into this NLI thing, and Florida State's a small college
Coach
town.
Prime.
They don't have the money like that. Like, I don't think they can keep up with the big teams. Heck, they're getting guys taken from D1 AA teams that can provide more money. So
you know, like Kevin Webster, buddy at McCaskey, JP was a big Florida State fan. I told him next year Norvell's got to get to like 7-8 wins, get a bowl. Everybody will calm down, and then the next year maybe make a leap. He's got to get to, like, if he doesn't get to 7-8 wins, I don't know how you can keep him.
Look, I think he could do very well, but that's the thing. The patience is not on your side with college football. And
there's no patience anymore.
So we'll see. I mean, obviously I'm hopeful. I like the guy, but I think you're right. If he doesn't get the wins, he's gone.
I think he's got a solid record, track record. I think COVID kind of hurt him a little bit. And like he
Anybody
inherited
can use
a roster.
That COVID excuse though.
No, I'm just saying, but he inherited a roster that wasn't great. I mean, they went from Jimbo to Taggart, who didn't. What Taggart get? Like less than 2 years.
Well, you know what though? I think Jimbo on his way out had some mistakes that people don't talk about.
Right, that's true. That's true.
He whiffed on the O-line, and he didn't bring in a great quarterback for multiple classes. He ended up.
That's what I mean. The roster wasn't
great.
great.
I think he had 2 guys go to IMG. I think they were on Last Chance U 2 years
Malik Henry, yeah, that's right.
He was one of them.
Yeah.
And you strike out at that position, you don't have line. I mean, you're going to go back to reality real quick. So I think they had some holes. Coach Taggart took over, and I think he was a good recruiter. I just don't know about head coach of a program like that. I think it was a little big for him.
Yeah. I agree.
Yep.
Bring back Coach Prime.
Would you do that?
You know what? So my dad harasses me about this because he's. Wow.
Who's he root for? He's a Penn State
he thinks they should have hired Deion. So Florida State should hire Deion.
But
based on what?
He had but back then he had no experience. Now you could hire him in a year or two because he's got more experience. Yeah.
Well, and he's promising all these kids all this stuff. I don't see him there in 2 years.
That's what I mean.
Well, they'll just transfer with him.
Well, that's what I joked with them when that kid signed. I said, "Well, he comes to Florida State in a year."
Yeah, I'll just follow him.
He might because. And I don't know all the truth to it, but they had the Barstool thing where they're saying they're getting big money with the thing they're doing or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not how you usually lose those recruiting battles, though. I like recruiting. That one's gonna sting for a while.
Yeah. That was crazy. That was the biggest story, obviously, on signing day because he was committed to Florida State forever, and like Georgia went after him hard, and people thought maybe he flipped to Georgia, but nobody thought they flipped to Jackson State.
No, and I thought, like, I'm on the Rivals.com website, have been for like 12 years, so I'm always following recruiting, and that morning they're like, we're hearing cold feet, and it might be to Dion, and I'm like, the number one prospect on Rivals. Well, D1 AA.
Yeah.
And then they got a wide receiver that's a 5-star.
Yeah.
Well, it is kind of crazy. Like, if you look at the last, like, year and a half, like, the changes in college football is nuts with NIL and with the transfer portal. And it's like, for 30 years you had the same college football, and now you have two major earth-shattering things that are affecting it. It is kind of crazy. They're both hitting at the same time.
Well, the NCAA went from kids don't get any money to it seems like they threw their hands
right.
up and they're like, it's the Wild West.
They had to, because all the states were passing laws allowing NIL, and then the federal government was they had no choice, so they were kind of screwed. But you're right, they did. It is a little bit Wild West. They got to get some regulations, I think, in there.
Kids are going to stay in school so they don't get a pay cut to go to the NFL. I mean, that's getting out of control.
Yeah.
They're saying Arch Manning might get a $12 million deal.
That's insane.
That's the rumors floating around. I don't even know how that all works.
Yeah, I don't know how either. I mean, your guy Jimbo had a heck of a recruiting class.
Well, Texas A&M money. Someone said they have the largest endowment in the country. Now he refuses.
Now he got upset about that. I was just gonna say,
it was classic him though. I love this rant. I thought it was great.
Yeah, whatever. I'm done with Jimbo.
Okay.
He left him high and dry.
He did.
He did. So, all right, that was awesome. I could talk college football all day, but let's get back into Coach Jennings. I wanted to talk a little bit about, before you were at McCaskey, I know you were head coach at Wheatland, right? You were head track coach there at Wheatland. Can you talk about your experiences there, and like how much did that, like, how long did you do it, and how much did that prepare you for taking, going up to the high school level?
Yeah, it was huge for me because I went into teaching. I wanted to help kids. Like I didn't even know what I wanted to teach. I was like, I want to try to help kids. I want to, be in the middle school or high school where kids are developing and be some type of mentor for them. So I got into school and I'm like, man, 30 minutes a day, I'm not having much of an impact. I'm teaching them math 30, 45 minutes a day. So I started playing football with kids after school, and then I started coaching. Funny story, my first year helping out coach, I go crazy with coaching. Like I'm all about it. The head coach that I was helping out asked me not to come back. I was telling her this kid should be running this event, not
That's
this
so
event.
funny.
They should be doing
That
this.
is hilarious.
Yeah, so she told me that.
This is at Wheatland?
Yeah. So I reached out to her. I'm friends with her. So I reached out to her, a couple days after the fact, and I'm like, hey, I did not mean to overstep my bounds. I'm just really passionate about this. I want to help out. And then, thank goodness she had me back. At the end of the year, she said to me, I was someone just holding the program together. She's like, it's all yours.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
The next year. So, but it was actually a good experience to have that, because I think you do have to have a balance. But no, so I started coaching, and, instantly I think we started to have success. We actually had to make cuts at Wheatland Middle School for track and field.
Wow.
So on a school bus, if you could do 3 to a seat, it's 72 kids. Apparently, a school bus is allowed to have 72 junior high kids.
Okay.
Whoever made this rule is out their mind, because you should never have that many kids on a bus. So we would cut it down to 71, so that I could ride the bus and have 71 kids on the bus.
This is at Wheatland.
At
Wheatland. How
Yeah.
many kids did you have to cut?
We usually had 20 or 30.
Oh, wow.
Man.
Cutting middle school
So
track.
it's interesting, though, because
You are ruthless.
when I recruited, well, it was hard. I mean, and then the problem.
I've never heard of that.
The problem with cutting a middle school kid, though, is who they are in 7th grade could be very different from who they are,
Right.
in 10th
Because they're
grade.
still developing,
So,
obviously.
Trust me when I say we didn't want to.
Right.
But again, 71, that's how many we could take on a bus. But recruiting middle school is easy. Kids want that. They want to feel wanted. They want to feel like, liked. So you ask a kid in middle school, hey, you should come out and do track and field. They almost always did. In the high school, they look at me like, who's this crazy white dude?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's different. Recruiting's a lot different of an animal up at the high school. But so I did that for several years at Wheatland, and then got the chance to move up and coach with Coach Freddie for a year.
Do you think that experience helps you being a varsity coach? Since you started it like the really beginning level of track for these kids.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say, and I'm finding, and I found out real quick, that if you're going to be successful at the high school, you got to have successful middle school programs or get the best athletes in.
Yeah.
True.
Number one, it's harder to recruit when they get to high school, especially a sport they've never done. And then number two, you find something you're good at in middle school, you're more likely to stick with it. So I tell my coaches all the time in the junior high, I try to be pretty active and help them and help support them any way they need, because, you know, if we're not getting kids out in the middle school, we're not going to be successful in the high school. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, I'm fairly good friends with Nate Leonard, who was at Reynolds forever, and he told me about like how you guys would have these battles where he'd have a lot of kids and you'd have a lot of kids, and that just makes the varsity track program so much better.
Well, it's so funny because he taught at Reynolds Middle School, and Wheatland Middle School they're kind of rivals.
Yeah.
So then my first year coming up to varsity, I'm like, I was almost talking bad about Reynolds. Like, hey, we got to beat them. They're our enemy. And then the very next year, I'm coaching those kids.
That's
so,
funny.
Yeah, I put my foot in my mouth a little bit there.
Yeah, he told me, he's like, yeah, I like Jennings, but I was kind of like we had this big competition. And when he became head coach, I was like, oh, yeah, I really liked him then.
Well, I got to tell you, he was huge. We had some of our best crops of kids come out of Reynolds when he was coaching there. We have another guy there that's doing a good job now, but losing Leonard was a huge loss in terms of just what he was able to do. Having a teacher in the building is so huge.
Yeah.
So
right.
huge, especially in the middle school.
Yep.
But
I have a buddy. He's the offensive coordinator at Penn Manor this year. He said another varsity football staff only has 2 coaches in the building right now.
It's tough. And at McCaskey, so we have McCaskey East and JP. I'm in at East, so it's like to recruit JP kids is difficult. Like I bet, now I don't know this, but I bet if you broke it down, I mean, there's more kids from East just from the interactions I'm able to have with them and recruit them.
So we talked about that off air too. I mean, you're coming off both your boys and girls winning the league title last year. It seems like you're one of the early favorites this year, both in the boys and the girls. And it sounds like you have some basketball kids out, some football kids out as well too.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Last year we kind of had 2 different teams. I thought our girls were really set up for the postseason, which turned out to be true. Warwick beat us in the section in a dual meet, and then we came back and won leagues. We won every single event on the track that didn't have a hurdle.
Wow.
We won 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600, 3200, and all relays.
Yeah, it was a great year.
Yeah, but the guys, it was interesting. We thought we were a little better section team because you're well-rounded, so we're getting points everywhere. But a guy that gets a second and a third in a dual meet might not score high at leagues. And
that's true.
We were kind of going back and forth with Manheim Township for leagues, and then our guys stepped up at the end and had some things go our way to win it. But yeah, we should be right back in the mix. There's some really good teams on the guy side this year that we've already seen this winter. I think Township, the Cedar Crests of the world are going to be very difficult. Hempfield won districts in cross country, so you're not getting off easy there. And it'll be tough. And then Warwick girls and what Bobby Rhodes is doing over there has been incredible for the last several years, including a state title. So they'll be tough. So the league's always tough. I think we'll be in it, and we'll give everybody our best shot. But I told the kids, once you start winning, everybody wants to be a part of it. So we have the fastest soccer kid out for track. We have the fastest basketball player out for track, and we have the fastest football guy out for track.
Wow, that's great.
I think all of them are going to be much faster when they go back to their other sports.
I think Coach Way will see that next week. Yeah, so I'm gonna jump to winter track. Okay. So I know last year I interviewed you and we sat down and talked. You said the biggest thing you wanted to get better at was improving winter track and getting more kids out for that. Can you talk about that? And can you talk about the first indoor LL track?
Yeah. So when I took over the program, I instantly looked at why does District 1 dominate track and field? District 1, they win the state titles. They have the fastest kids. They have a full season indoor. I mean, they literally have league meets that they run typically at Lehigh, and they're running 7 to 10 indoor meets a year.
Wow.
We were doing 3 or 4, and that was probably the most in the LL League. So as soon as I took over and I recognized how much they were doing in winter track, I made that my mission, that we got to get better in winter track. It'll help with spring track. I was a distance runner. Distance runners hate winter track. It's a 200-meter track. You run the 2 mile, you're running 16 laps. Indoor, the air quality's terrible, so you feel like you smoked a pack of cigarettes when you get done with the race. But the sprinters, jumpers, they need it. They need the competition. You can't ask a sprinter to go out 3-4 days a week in 30-degree weather and not compete. They need the competition. So that was one of the big things, and I think it's had a huge impact on our program. I mean, we're in it year in and year out. We're one of the favorites, or very competitive and a tough out. So that was right away. I said we got to do more. Started going up to the Armory. We went up to Ocean Breeze. Just add as many meets as possible, and had some success with that. But one of the things that what I noticed right away is there's no LL meet.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at District 1. They have a league that they meet, and only those teams go against each other every week. So we were like, we want to have this. Well, F&M just wasn't working out. That they get so much use out of that facility.
Yeah.
Everyone's using it that they weren't.
Do they make money? Does the school make money off that, or?
Well, it's interesting. So they have 2 indoor meets, and I believe they use that as a track and field fundraiser. So
Okay.
I think they do like their big spring break trip using that money. But that's another thing. So if we host an LL league meet, they're not going to make as much money. So I don't know if you've ever been to an indoor meet. Coach White can talk to this. There's 30, 40, 50 teams if it's a small meet.
Yeah.
I've never been there.
You know what I mean?
No.
So I'm trying to do the league has 22 teams. So I'm trying to do a meet that's a maximum of 22, and not every team does a league meet. While Vernia put in an indoor track facility, absolutely beautiful. Were you up there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
real nice.
Phenomenal facility. And their coach is a young coach. He wants to recruit and get kids
That's
to see
smart.
the facility and stuff.
Really smart on his
When
part.
you go there, if you're going to run track and field in the Northeast, if you're a sprinter, jumper, you want an indoor facility. I mean, it sucks training all winter. So they have a phenomenal facility. So we said right away, hey, this is in Reading. Coach, do you think we could make this happen? And he was 100% on board. So we named it the Lancaster Lebanon League, or the LL Challenge. Now, I benefited from my club. We have a partnership with Lancaster PAL, Police Athletic League.
Yeah, we're getting that.
So they kind of fronted it and did this meet and made it happen. The head PAL officer now is Carson Arnold, police officer, and anything we needed to make the meet happen, he made it happen.
That's
From
great.
Medals to the
That's
sweatshirt
incredible.
companies.
So how many people?
Yeah.
How many teams you have?
I think we had 14 teams. Not every team was a full team. We ended up having it on Super Bowl Sunday by accident.
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't know. So I don't know if that cost us a little bit, but we're hoping to get every team involved going forward. And the thought is, the closer we have to spring track, I think the better we'll have, because not every school in the LL does winter track. But it was great. I mean, I thought it went off. I thought it went off really well. Kids seemed to be having a good time, ran some fast times. I want to say we had 10 state qualifiers. At the meet, at the
That's
actual
it?
meet.
Thought I counted more.
It might have been more. I mean, it was crazy. So we had a guy, just McCaskey. We had a guy jump 6'7", which tied the state league at that meet.
Oh my
Is that
God.
Johnson?
No, so this is the crazy thing. I'm getting that Jules Benner.
Oh,
so then
okay.
Right across the lanes in long jump, Troy Johnson jumps a PA number 1 and he jumps 23 plus.
And that's without spikes indoors?
No, so you can use spikes there. Now, some
use-
places you can't,
Okay.
but you can use there. It's a super quick
I
facility.
mean, it's an awesome jump regardless,
Yeah.
but
That's an incredible jump
Uh,
for indoor too, right?
Well, listen, at States, he jumped the second best jump of the day, third, fourth, and fifth best jumps of the day. The guy
Wow.
that beat him PR'd by a foot. Jumped a foot farther than he's ever jumped.
who beat him?
Henry something. I can't even think of the kid's name. He's not AAA.
Okay.
So, Troy will probably be the favorite going into the spring, and he's
I can
just
imagine.
killing it right now.
So are you? How many kids did you have out for winter track?
So winter track, we ended up at about 60.
That's
when it
pretty
was all
good.
said and done. Yeah, which are good numbers.
Jeez.
It's a tough sell. I mean, we do some hallway running. We were able to, and I don't want to give out too many secrets to Coach Way, him being here, but we bought a rollout runway. So it's basically a 1-lane track that we put in the big hallway, and we do short sprints on it. Now we don't do spikes or anything, but one thing I'm finding with short speed, you gotta hit top speed over and over and over again to get good, and it's hard to do when it's 30, 40 degrees. Number one, there's too much standing around. You're gonna get pulled muscles.
Yeah.
Your sprinters, I wasn't a sprinter. Coach Way was a sprinter, so you guys know him better than I do. You might be able to test this, but sprinters like to run as fast as they can when they get tired and not do anything. They're a little bit lazy. So, I mean, they are, though.
You agree with that, Coach?
Yeah, that's pretty true.
So sprints, they'll run as fast as they can. As soon as they're tired, they stop. You should see a workout where you're trying to get them to go like 70, 80%. It makes no sense to them. They just cannot. They want to run fast. They get tired. They want to stop.
Do you do that too?
So
I
we do
mean,
that.
with indoor, because you're like you said, you're running in the hallways too. You worried about their shins or
Well,
anything
so
like that?
so we don't meet every day. We typically do every day but Wednesday.
Okay.
And Fridays, I call it an X Factor day. So we'll do some lifting stuff, some explosive stuff like that. But we are
Okay.
not sprinting several days.
Yeah.
You gotta protect shins, hamstrings. I mean, knees, all that stuff. So
Gotcha.
You got it, and that's another thing is finding that balance of, getting the best out of your kids without injuring them, because an injured sprinter, they can't do it. You
can linger too, right? You can linger for months.
Injured. Yeah, I mean, hip flexors, hamstrings. If you do something like that, it could be there all season. So you got to find the balance, man.
And the fact you have 60 kids out is really impressive. Going to school at Penn Manor, like I would, run winter track, and I would be like, "Hey guys, you coming out?" They're like, "Track's not till spring."
Yeah,
that's kind of the message,
And again, when I took over, that was the one thing I said, we got to change that.
Yeah.
If we're going to be successful, we got to change that. We had several kids up at States, actually the most I've had since coaching this year, and we've turned it around there, and I think it showed in the spring that it's helped. So we'll see.
All right, so we're going to go back again. We're going back and forth. So can you talk about, like to say my favorite Frederick, CJ's dad? I'm joking. And he's a great guy too. But can you talk about the experience of, he was there for a long time at McCaskey, had a lot of success. Can you talk about, you came up and you coached under him for a couple of years, or was it 1 or 2?
Yeah, so the funniest story, and you probably don't even know this, first time I ever met him, he stopped by a Wheatland track practice. It was when I was the volunteer that first year where I got kicked off and got invited back. So he came to visit the team. Yeah, we had big numbers, so he wanted to come visit the team, which makes a lot of sense. They know who they're going to be coaching. And he's talking to the head coach. I don't know if he knows I can hear him, but she says, "Hey, yeah, we got Derek Jennings out." And he says, this is a true story, he'll deny it. He says, "You should really try to get Priscilla Jennings out, his sister." He's telling her
the Millersville Hall of Famer. Yeah.
That's great.
It might have been my earliest motivation that I've had.
So that was a motivating factor. And then
I'm like, get my sister out. This guy, I mean, he's just dismissed me. And he will. I'm really telling you right now, he'll deny it.
That's a great story.
We can call him. He would deny it. I could have him on air. He would deny it 100%.
I guarantee you he'd deny it. But he said to the coach, the one you got to get out is his sister. He definitely said it.
That's
of course,
so
you
funny.
remember because it's about you.
Oh, yeah. Well, he says all kind of crazy stuff. You know what I mean? He doesn't probably remember half of it. But yeah, true story. First time I ever met him. And then I walk over and I'm like, "Hey, I'm Derek Jennings."
That's so funny.
But yeah, so what happened? So I started coaching at Wheatland. We had huge success. I mean, there were a couple of years that the McCaskey team that had 2 or 3 kids at States, probably every year, that were from Wheatland. And one area that we had the most success is our throwers.
Mm-hmm.
So Kane Rush came out of Wheatland. He was a state medalist. He actually has the school record with the new javelin. Aaliyah Stryver, who's at Millersville, and
she's doing great things.
Yeah, she's doing huge things there. So I'm hoping we can get her back on coaching in some regard.
Is she a senior?
So I think she's a 5th year. She might even be doing grad classes now. With the extra year of eligibility at Millersville. But she's a beast, great kid. But so we started having the success. So your dad invited me up to, he said, "Would you want to come up and coach the sprints?" Now, I'm a distance guy. So, at Wheatland, we only had 2 coaches, so you're doing throws, sprints, distance, and all.
Yeah.
So I came up, and the challenge of coaching sprints in that year 1, I fell in love with it. Like, coaching distance in some regards can be boring. You're like, "Hey, go for an 8-mile run. We'll see you back here in an hour." You know what I mean? And then you're just like twiddling your thumbs or meeting them out halfway for water. The sprints, I mean, it's a whole new ball game, and that was something I didn't know. So I coached with him for 1 year.
That was 1 year.
Yeah.
So when he retired, were you thinking right away you want this job? Is this what you wanted?
Well, you know what's interesting? My last year at Wheatland, I resigned before he gave me the position. I resigned from Wheatland because I said I knew at that time I was at a spot where I wanted to move on to varsity. So I was putting out applications to a couple different spots, and I told him, "Hey, I feel like I've done what I can here. I want to move up to varsity. I wanted to be at McCaskey. That's where I wanted to be, but if a position wasn't available, that was fine to me. I was going to go elsewhere, and he had a position open up and brought me up. Or who knows where I would be right now.
Yes, I think he had you in mind to be his successor,
he did,
too.
Yeah. And it's funny because he tells me,
or your sister, either one.
Or your sister.
He might still take her over me. He might think, "Yo, get the other one."
Did your sister coach?
She does not coach. So when she was done at Millersville, I think she ran 1 race since graduating, the road race. I think she won the Red Rose maybe right after graduating, and I don't think she
won the Red Rose.
Oh, yeah, dude. She was a 4.25 1500.
Oh my God!
That converts to low 440s. She was crazy thing is her senior year, I think it was. She ran the 5 kilometer one time in spring track, and was seated top 3 in the nation. So she ended up running that at nationals, which may or may not have been a mistake. She didn't do as well as she hoped, but she was the real deal. So I mean,
is she older or younger?
She's a little younger. Yeah, so
Okay.
she's actually a year school-wise younger than I was.
So I assume she's a Hall of Famer too at Slanko?
Yeah, you know what? It actually made me a little upset. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, here we go.
This is a family dinner conversation. I still argue the fact that she got in before me because of what she did at Millersville. I think there was some bias there. I think my high school... my parents and family are listening to this.
This is great.
I'm telling you, my high school accolades were better than hers. I'll argue that.
There
you heard it here first.
I will argue that.
I want to go eat Thanksgiving dinner with the Jennings. I want to hear these stories.
Slanko High School, all you members, if you hear this, they voted her in on college accolades. I'm telling you, I got robbed. I don't even mind
bashing his own sister.
I think I should have got in before my sister. And Millersville should put me in the Hall of Fame for her following me there.
Oh, there we go. You heard it here.
Jennings.
That is good.
Oh my God, dude, you're so that's good. That's really
look,
good.
our family's super competitive.
That's really
my senior year. I was having a real good year, and the paper came down to an article, and it was like people were saying Derek and his sister. 2 years later, it was, are you Priscilla's brother? So it changed quick. It can happen.
Well,
like
I did feel bad a couple weeks ago. We were coach, the Spring Grove coach was Coach
Campbell.
I felt real bad. We were talking about Layla. We had Layla on there, and then he's like, "Yeah, my son's on the team too." And I was like, "Oh yeah, sorry."
His son's a good runner.
His son's
Yeah,
a
he
good
is.
runner, but
He's just
it's
committed
all
to Mount.
world.
Yeah.
She's all world.
And she's
man.
all world. It's like,
And he's going to Mount St. Mary's,
Yeah,
his boy, isn't he?
the
I think that's where he committed.
He's being recruited.
Yeah.
yeah, that's great.
They ran 42.5. It's probably the number 1 time in the state right now.
In March.
4x1.
That's
It's
nuts.
unreal.
Yeah, that's nuts in March.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, people still, oh, you're Freddie's son, and I'm a 37-year-old man with kids of my own. So if that makes you feel any better, there
Well,
you
it's
go.
funny, when I first was friends with you on social media, I'm like, Carl Frederick, I'm like, he's on social media.
Yeah.
That can't be right.
That's
And it was
everybody
you.
says that. Everybody
Yeah,
just
that-
assumes it's my
but now he's
father.
on social media.
Well, no, right. When Brandon texted me and said, "Yeah, somebody wants to help out," it's CJ Frederick. I was like, "Oh, Carl, the old track coach. He wants to help out." He goes, "No, his son." I go, "Oh, who's that guy?"
That's what I get everywhere. Like people from the paper reach out. They're like, "Oh, we thought you were your dad." Like, nope, I'm alive. I'm still here. You know, that's how it goes.
You might get your dad to host the show if you guys hosted it in the garage at the house.
That'd be the only way. That'd be the only way he'd come on.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming.
As if- he's not leaving that. He's not leaving the garage. That's
So
the only
the-
way.
So the Jennings and the Fredericks. Oh man, we got some.
No, that's
stories.
fine with me.
Family
You ask
issues.
me that now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm down. We'll take like all over there.
Take a
Road
road trip.
show?
I tell you
Let's
what,
go road show.
I would recommend it. You know what?
I want Jennings there though.
That's fine with me.
You might need to make it more than an hour. I tell you what, your dad, I don't even want him to hear this now. I don't even want to say that.
He's gonna hear
I
it.
don't even want to admit this. He has got a super sharp mind. He tells me stories of when he was in high school, like to the moment. He talks about a meet down at Solanco and how it went down, and this guy should have ran this but didn't run that.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know where the brains went, but they didn't.
He's speaking facts.
But I'll
We
tell
only
you what,
speak facts here.
You know what? He can tell you story after story. That would be a good one. I mean,
It's
if
fine
you
with
want to
me.
talk about the '70s when he was in school or the '90s when he coached. I mean, he'll remember verbatim. So,
We get like a round table between Coach Jennings and Coach Way and Coach Henry, like all of his disciples.
That would be a good idea.
well, Damian Henry.
A track symposium.
Yeah.
So
We're all Freddie's
Damian Henry,
kids.
Coatesville. He might be he's right up there as one of the best sprint coaches in the state of Pennsylvania. They're always in the mix to win the state title. They have the state record, and Terrence Laird wasn't even on that team. So they have Terrence Laird, who goes on to win the NCAA 100 this year.
At LSU.
LSU.
Yeah, LSU.
I think it's a year or two after he graduates, they break the state record in the 4x1.
Wow.
So, Coach Craighead and Freddie, so your dad, they have a group chat that goes on with Damian, and they start talking smack that I'm talking smack about the sprints. So my first year coaching the sprints, we went to the Black Knight Invitational at Hempfield. This is a true story, and we beat Coatesville. I think two of their guys were at football. So we had like two A-team guys on it, and we're super excited. We just won an invitational. This is my first year coaching the sprints. We're like chest bumping, and now he calls us the chest bumpers. And then they go on and probably win the state title with the 4x1. But hey, we beat them. Black Knight Invitational. You can look that up. We beat them.
It's in the books. You can see it.
I don't care who was on the reel.
Doesn't matter.
Shout out to Coach Henry because he does have the fastest kid in the country right. Well, last year in the country in the 100 meters.
It's unreal. So I picked his brain, about the sprints, and he was actually a sprinter. Coached the 4x400 team that broke his school record and league record. He might have been on the school record, not the league record team, but which was kind of nice, and get to rub in a little bit when we see him.
And you got them coming up. That's the invitational.
Yeah. So we're going to if Coatesville in a scrimmage, we're going to go down there for an invite. They have a beautiful facility.
Okay,
so.
They do. It's beautiful.
It's fantastic.
That's the same weekend as the freaking Pan Ram
and Black Knight.
Oh, yeah,
so we went last year. They didn't have Black Knight because of COVID, and so we went down. Damien invited us down, and we did the Coatesville Invitational. We liked it. We got to see teams we normally don't see, and so we said, "Hey, we're coming back next year. You just let us know we're in." And then found out the Black Knight Invitational the same weekend. So, which is one we like because it's at Hempfield. It's where the league meet is. There's some value, I think, in doing that. Track. Now we have our dual meet at Hempfield, so I feel a little better about. We'll get some experience on that track.
All right, can you talk about your Lancaster City Track program and what you do with the pals and everything?
Yeah, and actually, Coach Way and I, my year one. He couldn't figure out how to register kids, so I had to help register his kids.
I forgot about that.
That's a true story. Yeah. And then I just took his kids and took all the credit for him. You know what I mean? To promote the club. But so 2013, we were at the end of our spring season at Wheatland, and after the league meet, a couple of the kids asked, "Hey, when's our next practice? When's our next meet?"
Okay.
And jokingly, I said next year. Right? I mean, our season was over, so they wanted to keep practicing and keep competing. So my parents had me run the AAU and the USATF track meets and cross-country meets when I was younger. And I said, look, I can look into this. I don't really know what to expect or whatever. And it took off. We were club unattached, we always joke, for a year. That was 2013. We did the club 2013, 2014. And then in 2015, I believe it was, teamed up with Lancaster Police Athletic League, which was kind of crazy at how it happened. We were at the Mix-It Arbor place. I was talking to someone, and we were going back and forth, and I pitched kind of our club to them, and the guy was like, "Hey, I don't even know how we could help, but we like what you're doing. If anything comes available that we could team up, we definitely would." It was like one of those conversations. Like, I'm never gonna hear from this guy again. Like that's how that conversation went. Like, hey, pat on your back. You guys are doing a great job. Keep it up, but we can't help. So 6 months later, I get a call that they're starting this Lancaster Police Athletic League, and they would like to sit down with us and talk about teaming up. So I go in, and we're having the conversation at this table, me and like three of the committee guys and the PAL officer, and I kind of pitched what we do and our vision and goal and stuff, and they're like, yeah, we think we can fund it and make it happen. And I'm like, I just told them this takes several $1,000s, like I don't even know them. And so I went back and I talked to two of my friends that were moms of kids I had, and I'm like, look, I'm going to have another meeting with these guys. I want you to go because I feel like this is too good to be true. I was paying almost everything out of pocket. We were doing car washes, and we're trying to make it happen for the kids, and can't even tell you how much money those first 2 years that I ended up spending to invest. But we went back, and we again had the meeting. And they were basically like, listen, you have a program that works. It's proven that it works. When we do a program, we don't even know if it's going to work. And we spend several $1,000s to try to get it up and running. And oftentimes we don't even get through year one.
Wow.
So we teamed up with Lancaster PAL. They were working out of the mix at that point. And Josiah King, who started Lancaster PAL, or was the head PAL officer, we worked with them for several years. We've had several All-Americans. We've taken kids to Florida, North Carolina, Kansas, California twice to compete. it's pretty cool. You're taking kids on a plane. It's the first time ever on a plane.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's been really cool and special what we've been able to do, and I think it's changed kids' lives. I mean, I can't tell you how many of our kids that went to college and are going to college pretty cheap. Elias Driver is going to be debt free.
That's incredible. Nathan Henderson.
Through academics, athletics. Now Nathan Henderson, ironically, we don't have a lot of distance runners, so he wasn't on the club. But this kid, I coached against him when I was at Wheatland. He goes on to be a state champ. Is at Syracuse and probably going to get his master's degree. I think at Syracuse when it's all
that's what he was telling me in the interview.
Liana Tirado went out to Kent State.
I saw you post some stuff on there.
Yeah, so Liana was a babysitter and then became like good friends with my wife, and so we're real good friends with the family. And Tone, R.I.P., passed away.
Yeah, we're sorry to hear that. That was awful, man.
Yeah, he was my protege, man.
Yeah, he was.
That guy. It was interesting. I would talk to your dad and I would talk to Mike Craighead, and we were like, this guy's me. Like, this is me. Like, this is I got a guy that is going to do everything I did, and tragically passed in a bike accident.
That was awful.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
That's
so
horrible.
we're super close with that family. So we went out and visited Liana and Dejan Manning's out at Kent State as well, actually, right now. So we drove out there. So we got these kids that are going to college that are running, that we're able to build these relationships with, and we're able to help them with their schooling and just add that extra layer of accountability that they're going to school, they're competing, and they're getting their education a lot cheaper because, as you know, college is just outrageous right now.
Yeah.
The cost of going, but Dejan is on pace to be debt free. Like Kent State academics and athletics. Liana will not have any debt.
That's
and
incredible.
Nathan, who wasn't on the club, but through his track scholarship and that should be debt free or pretty darn close to it. So a lot of good things going with the program. We're continuing that. This is year 9, I believe. North Carolina's nationals this year, so we'll take kids down there. We had a middle school team, so the future looks bright. Become our first team or individual or anyone to win a national title, Junior Olympics. So
incredible.
They won the 4x1. They were flying. Coach Way, some of them were keeping on the freshman team, so you don't got to worry about them this year.
Awesome.
You got a great freshman staff. Alana Clark's a good friend of mine at McCaskey. And Rudy and.
So it's crazy because Alana didn't even do track, so she came out, and I wanted her to come out because she was at JP, and the kids like her. She's a good teacher.
She's
and I'm like,
really
this has
teacher.
someone in each building, and I can tell you right now, anything I tell her, like, hey, I want the kids to do this, or this is how we do this, I look over and freshman team's doing it, and that's what you need. You don't necessarily need a coach that thinks they know everything or that might know more than. You want someone that's going to be willing to adjust and do what you do at the varsity level, because those kids are going to eventually be varsity.
Yeah.
But yeah, those three, that staff's pretty good.
The Lancaster City Track Club is probably one of the best kept. It's not a secret, but it's like a hidden gem in Lancaster where these kids are getting opportunities that they're not accustomed to or just will never have again. And they're going across the country. Like, it's amazing. So it's definitely good stuff.
We did it when we were young. We would stay in the cheapest hotel, drive the minivan, I remember as a kid, and eat fast food. So the opportunities we're being able to provide these kids, I think, is huge for them.
That's incredible. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up, and I got one more question. So just can you give us an outlook on how you gonna go back-to-back section titles?
Well,
is that the goal?
Put you on the spot, Coach.
Any other team goals, or
track coaches take things personal too. Now you don't want to put the clickbait out there.
I don't. Look, I don't.
Hey, we like it. We want more views. But hey, Coach Jennings, take the high road. But
Nah. So you know what? I tell the kids we got a target on our back. Interestingly, someone asked me after the season last year. They said, "Hey, you won the league title for boys and girls. Where do you go from here?" And I said, "We never want to lose again."
There you go.
But I mean, that's your mindset,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You want to win. And
you're at the top. You want to stay there.
I hear all the time from your dad, from the teams in the 80s, from the teams he was on, how good they were. And we want to bring that back, and we think we can. And you know what? Our kids are hungry and working hard, so our goal is to win the title in both.
Okay.
There's some really good teams out there, so I'm not taking any shots or
track is
favorites, but I'm just telling you right now, our goal is to win both.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job, and we're really happy for you.
Yeah, I mean, your energy is infectious, and I want to tell you that I always thought that about you. So keep up the great work. All right, we want to thank you so much for coming in. And I know you're busy with track and everything, and you got a family and everything, and appreciate you coming in and taking some time. So thank you guys so much for listening. and make sure you follow us on 717sports.com. Also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram and Facebook as well. And one more shout out to Right Way Home Care and Musu, photography. Some of our sponsors, they do a great job as well. So we'll be back next week, and we'll have another episode talking about Round the 717. Thank you so much.
For more great content, make sure you follow 717 Sports Media on all your podcast listening platforms. Also follow us on social media, on Twitter at 717_sports, Facebook and Instagram at 717 Sports Media. We're also checking on our website daily for your daily news and sports videos at 717sportsmedia.com.
Hey, I'm Mo from Mosu. We are a photography business based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I have been taking pictures for years, just as a hobby. My family and friends tried to get me to go professional, however I shied away from that. But this year was my year. I was gonna take my dreams and run with them, and I have to say I do not regret it. I absolutely love the feeling that it gives me. I love watching people leave my studio smiling and feeling confident. It's just absolutely amazing. We offer family, portrait, pets, and we also do small business branding. So if you would like to work with us, you can reach us at our website or give us a call. We'd love to work with you.